let us look at analytic function. When you say a function is analytic, what do we mean? So we want to know the meaning of analytic function because it will help us in understanding these power series solutions. So we say a function f of x is said to be analytic. When you say it's analytic, it simply means the same as defined. It's defined at a point x is equal to x naught. If f of x can be expanded in a power series about x naught and has a positive radius of convergence. So normally, a basic definition of a function which is analytic is that it is a function which is defined at that point x is equal to x naught. So if a function is defined at a point given x is equal to x naught, then we say that that function is analytic. So f of x is analytic at x is equal to x naught if it has this kind of representation. This function is analytic if it has this kind of representation. So the function f of x is given in this form. So this is our power series form. So summation n is equal to 0 up to infinity an into bracket x minus x naught to the power of n. So normally, basically, the ans basically stand for the constants. An stands for the constants, and basically, the convergence. We can say this equation 20. It converges where the absolute value of this difference, the difference between x and x naught, the absolute value is less than r. When the absolute value of x minus x naught is less than r, then this function converges. Where r basically is a value which is bigger than 0. R is a value which is bigger than 0. So we normally say the radius of convergence, that is the r. R is called the radius of convergence. And I'm sure you are taught that in calculus 3, the radius of convergence. So can be found from the ratio test or the root test. So these are the things that you did in your calculus 3. You did ratio test and root test. So that radius of convergence, it can be found by using the ratio test or the root test. Hence, the function f of x is single valued and possesses the divergence of all orders in that interval. So these are just stories that you just go through them. You will go through them and then they are simple to understand. So we normally say a rational function. We basically know that a rational function is obtained by, in this manner, that is by division. A rational function is basically a fraction. Is analytic everywhere. So this function, given in this form, is analytic everywhere, except when now this value is going to 0. Except when this value in the denominator is going to 0. That's when it fails to be analytic. Because if you have a number, maybe 1 over 0, then that function we normally say it is not defined. And we have said that for our function to be analytic, it has to be defined. That means we are putting the restriction. We are putting the restriction that that point should not be equal to 0. It is analytic everywhere except when qx is 0. Otherwise, when qx is not equal to 0, then this function will always be analytic. It will always be analytic. So this issue of the being analytic will take us to something, to a concept that we are going to look at. That is those points. We are now going to analyze these points where this function fails to be analytic. We have seen that if this qx is not equal to 0, then this function is analytic. What about now when it is equal to 0? So we want now to learn those points. What are they called? So we have this subtopic, ordinary and singular points. Ordinary and singular points. So basically, when we talk about ordinary and singular points, we can look at it using an example. An example will help us be able to see clearly what we mean by these ordinary and singular points. So consider a linear second order homogeneous ODE. We have a second order homogeneous ODE, which is taking this form, that is A2 of x. So it has variable coefficients. As you can see, it has variable coefficients, that is A2x, d squared y dx squared, plus A1x dy dx, plus A0 x y is equals to 0. So this equation 21, it can be written in a way that we are avoiding the coefficient of d squared to be 1. That means we divide all the row by this. If we divide all the row by that, then you'll be having this second equation here, that is d squared y over dx squared plus p1x dy dx plus p2xy equals to 0. So basically, where p1x, as you can see, it will be this over a2. p2x is this over a2. So it is very clear. So now, and the restriction is that the denominator should not be equal to 0. The restriction is that the denominator should not be equal to 0. We have seen why it should not be equal to 0. We have seen why this A2 should not be equal to 0. So now, having a look at this kind of an example, let us now try and understand the meaning of now ordinary and singular points. When you say an ordinary point, what do you mean? When you say a singular point, what do you mean? And we have around 2 types of singular points. So an ordinary point, basically, if we define an ordinary point, we can say that it is a point x is equal to x naught. Is called an ordinary point of the equation if both p1x and p2x are analytic at x is equal to 0. That means if you replace x with x naught in these values, you are getting an analytic function. That is, it is not equal to, or your function is not becoming undefined. That is, when x is x naught, your function is defined. That is, it is analytic. So we say that you have an ordinary point. You have an ordinary point. What about a singular point? What is a singular point? So we normally say that if at least one of them, either p1x and p2x in the equation given above, is not analytic. That is, if at least one of them, either this one, if we replace x with x naught, you are not getting something that is defined, then we are referring now that to us as a singular point. At that point, we say that we have a singular point. As you can see there, we have a singular point. What about now the 2 types of regular points? That is singular points. So we say that singular points are 2. We have one that is regular and one that is irregular. So for the regular singular point, basically, we normally say if x naught is a singular point of the differential equation, but both the products, that is now, if you take now the product of x times x naught, you multiply by p1x, and then x minus x naught squared multiplied by p2 of x in their simplest form are analytic at the point x is equal to x naught. Then the point x is equal to x naught is called a regular singular point. That is, if maybe you worked out at this point and you found that your equation had singular points and not ordinary points. Now you want to classify those singular points as either regular or irregular. So what you do is that you multiply the p1 of x by x minus x naught power 1. And then the p2 you multiply by x minus x naught power 2. And then if these ones now in their simplest form are analytic, then you have a regular singular point. So what about now an irregular singular point? At which point do you encounter irregular singular point? So we say if x naught is a singular point of the differential equation, that is, if x naught is a singular point of the differential equation, which you are given here, a singular point. So when it's a singular point, you know where we are here. So it is a singular point. And at least, so now you are seeing the condition here. And at least x times x naught, x minus x naught times p1 of x, and x minus x naught squared times p2 of x, in their simplest form, is not analytic at x is equals to x naught. That is, we have said at least one of them. So as you can see, in these regular singular points, we are saying that at least one of them is not analytic. So we are saying for a regular, singular point, you have seen what it means. And also, the irregular singular point, we have been able to see that. So for the regular, we have said that both of them. So take note of the term both. That is, for the regular points, both of them should be analytic. But now, for the irregular, at least one of them is not analytic. At least one of them is not analytic. So we refer to that as irregular point. So we have an example there. So example, determine the singular points of the equation given there. So we have the equation given as so the equation is given as x minus 1 into bracket d squared y dx squared plus x dy dx plus 1 over xy is equal to 0. Is is equal to 0. So then what do? First of all, you need to write your equation the way we did in equation 21. So as you can see, before we identified the ordinary or the singular points in equation 21, first of all, we normalized. We wrote the equation 21 in a normalized form, that is to look like equation number 22. So writing our example in that way, like this: d squared y dx squared plus x over x minus 1 dy dx plus 1 over x into bracket x minus 1y equals to 0. So if you look at that equation, then p1 of x is that, the first one, and p2 of x is that second one. p2 of x is that second one. So p2 of x is that second one. So now we need now to analyze. We need to analyze that is p1 x and then the p2x. So as you can see, the singular points that we have there, for p1x, if you look keenly, for p1x, we have x minus 1 is equal to 0 in the denominator, meaning that x is equal to 1. So meaning that when x is equal to 1, then that function, p1 in the denominator, we will be having 1 minus 1, which is 0. So meaning that it is not analytic. At the point x is equal to 1. So p1 of x is not analytic at x is equal to 1, simply because, as you can see, the denominator becomes 0. So for p2 of x, we have x into bracket x minus 1 is equal to 0. So here we know that x can either be equal to 0 or x minus 1 equals to 0. So and then we have two options. That is, from here we'll get x is equal to 0, x equals to 1. And when does this now function become not analytic? With p2 will not be analytic at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to 1. Simply because when x is 0, I have 0 into bracket times 0 minus 1. That is simply 0. When it is 1, we'll have 1 into bracket 1 minus 1, which is 0. So as you can see, it will not be analytic at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1. Therefore, we need now to give a general observation. Therefore, the point x is equal to 0 and then x is equal to 1, because we saw that here we had 1 and here we have 0 and 1. So we combine the two to be just 0 and 1 are the only singular points of these differential equations. Are these points regular, irregular, or ordinary points? They are ordinary because, as you can see, they are just ordinary from the definition. From the definitions that we have just looked at that point above there, they are ordinary points. They are ordinary points. Example B, find the singular points of this differential equation, and hence you classify or irregular. So we are supposed to find the singular points. So first of all, you need to normalize the equation. That is, you write it in the p1 of x and the p2 of x. You identify p1 of x and p2 of x. So for p1 of x, what do we have? We had here P1 of x is equals to negative 1 over 2. Is equals to negative 1 over 2x. So there's an x below there. So P1 of x is equals to negative 1 over 2x. So what kind of an ordinary point is that? So P1 of x, we have the denominator is 2x. So for it to be an ordinary point, we know that 2x should be equal to 0. And what is that? It implies what? If you divide both sides by 2, then x is equals to 0. So meaning that P1 of x is not analytic at the point x is equal to 0. So automatically it is not analytic at x is equal to 0, because if you put x to be 0, then that function becomes undefined. For P2 of x, we simply have the denominator 2x squared being equal to 0. 2x squared equals to 0, meaning what? Meaning that x is equals to 0, which implies that also P2 of x is not analytic at the point x is equal to 0. P2 of x is not analytic at the point x is equal to 0. So therefore, we normally refer to the point x is equal to 0 as the singular point. It is the singular point of the given differential equation. It is the singular point of the given differential equation. So all the other points are ordinary apart from this. Apart from x equals to 0, the other points are ordinary. So we need to classify. Classification. So, and if you can remember, when classifying them into either regular or irregular, you normally pre-multiply by x minus x naught. That is for the P1, and for the P2, we multiply by x minus x naught squared. So we have seen that our x naught is simply 0. Our x naught is 0. So it will be x minus 0 times P1 of x, which is basically x minus 0 is x. So it will be x times this, times is negative 1 over 2x. So we have x times negative 1 over 2x, that is at x is equals to 0. So we'll have what? X and x will cancel out. So we'll have negative a half. Negative half, which implies what? Which implies that x minus x naught is analytic. So as you can see, if you replace x with x naught and you pre-multiply that like that, and then now you do the simplification, you are seeing that the function remains as being defined. It's a half. And you know that a half is defined. A half is defined. That's why we are saying that it is analytic at x is equals to x naught. What about now for P2 x? So we are pre-multiplying by x minus x naught squared. We have said that x naught is equals to 0. So x minus 0 is simply x. So x squared. So you're multiplying x squared times the function, that is P1 of x, which is given there. As you can see, it will reduce to negative 5 over 2, which is also defined, meaning that that function is analytic at x is equal to 0. It's analytic at x is equal to 0. So now that both P1 of x and P2 of x are analytic, then we refer to that as x is equal to x naught is referred to as a regular singular point. It is a regular singular point. So supposing one of them, maybe P1 failed to be analytic, then you will be referring to as an irregular singular point. So we have example number 2. Example number 2. Find the singular points of the following differential equation and determine whether they are regular or irregular points. So you are given this kind of a differential equation. So first of all, we are required to normalize. We are required to normalize and identify P1 of x and P2 of x. That step is very clear. Normalizing and identifying P1 of x and P2 of x is as clear as that. There is nothing difficult there. So now the next thing is the classification now. Is it regular or irregular? So we have singular points. So we need to define the singular points in our given equation here. So for P1 of x, we have the denominator, that is x squared, being equal to 0, which implies that x is equal to 0. So as you can see, thus P1 of x is not analytic as the point x is equal to 0. If you replace x with 0, that point, that P1 of x becomes 1 over 0, which is not defined. And then P1 of x, meaning that P1 of x is not analytic. For P2 of x, we have the denominator, x squared into bracket 1 minus x is equal to 0, which implies either x squared is equal to 0 or 1 minus x equals to 0. So by using those two, we realize that x is either equal to 0 or 1. And then thus, P2 of x is not analytic at the points that is x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1. Therefore, the points x is equal to 0 and 1 are the only singular points of that given differential equations. So those 2 points are the only singular points of that given differential equation. So now on the classification, so how do you classify these now points? That is x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1. So we start with x naught equals to 0. So now we are using this formula, that is x minus x naught times P1 of x. And our x naught here is 0. So we have x times P1, which is 1 over x squared. So we remain with 1 over x. So at x equals to 0, we have 1 over 0. And we know that 1 over 0 is equal to infinity. 1 over 0 is equal to infinity, which implies that the function P1 of x is not analytic. It is not analytic because we are getting 1 over 0. We are getting 1 over 0. Also, at x naught equals to 1. At x naught equals to 1, then we are having x minus x naught times P1 of x. And x naught is equal to 1, so it we have x minus 1 times 1 over x squared. So when x is equal to 1, what happens? We'll be having 1 minus 1, which is 0. So this will be 0. 0 times 1 over 1, which is simply 0. And we know that 0 is analytic, so meaning that the function is analytic at x is equals to 1. It is analytic at x is equals to 1. So also, for the second part, that is P2 of x, if we replace, that is x minus x naught squared multiplied by P2 of x, then we'll have, we know that x naught is 1. So we have x minus 1 squared times 1 over x squared into bracket x minus 1. So if you cancel those two, then you realize that we'll have x minus 1 over negative x squared. So if you replace now the x with 1, we'll be having what? We'll be having, which is 0 over 1. And 0 is basically, meaning that it is defined. 0 over 1 is defined. Then the conclusion, we say that since x minus x naught is P2 of x are both analytic at x is equal to 1. So we are saying that at x is equal to 1, both functions are analytic. So we know that that point, x is equal to 1, is a regular singular point. But x is equal to 0 is an irregular because it failed to be analytic. But x is equal to 1 is analytic. That's why we are saying it is a regular point. It's a regular singular point. So we have more examples there. That is example D and E. So you have more examples there that you can look at. There are more examples there that you can have a look at. So now, having known how to identify the points as either ordinary, singular, regular singular, irregular singular, so now we want to know how to solve now the power series solutions about an ordinary point. About an ordinary point. So, for instance, we know that this is the general form of the power series solution. That is the general form of the power series solutions. That is y is equals to summation n is equals to 0 up to infinity an into bracket x minus x naught to power n. So we can understand this better if you have a look at some of the examples. If you have a look at some of the examples, we'll be able to understand this better. So example number 1, we have 1 minus x squared d squared y dx squared minus 2x dy dx plus 2y equals to 0. So we are supposed to solve about the ordinary point x naught is equals to 0. We are supposed to solve about the ordinary point x naught is equals to 0. So if x naught is equals to 0, and we know that this is a general power series, that is the general power series. So you replace, if you are told that x naught is 0, go to where x naught is and you put 0. You are seeing that you will get whatever is here. So we'll have y is equals to summation n is equals to 0 up to infinity an times x to power n. So now, that is y. Is the y that you are seeing that it is present here. So the y that you are seeing here, it is whatever will be represented by this. We require the first derivative. So we require dy dx. So how do we get dy dx? That is the first derivative of that function y. So if you differentiate, this function once, that means we'll have y prime, which is simply dy dx is equal to what? Now, we said that when differentiating, we know that an is a constant. The an is a constant. So if you differentiate x power n, you bring the n down. And as you can see clearly, you bring the n down, and then you have an, and then x n to power n minus 1. That is just simply differentiating that. So I hope everyone is seeing that. It is very clear. The reason why we are beginning at now n is equals to 1, I'm sure some of you are now wondering, why is it that the summation here was beginning at 0, and now here we are beginning at 1? The reason why we are changing the summation to begin at 1 is that if you begin at 0, then it won't make any sense. Because if you multiply n times 0, so if n is 0, so you put n to be 0 there, then everything will be 0. So it doesn't make sense starting at 0. That's why we now start at 1. And then to get this other derivative, that is the second derivative, d squared y dx squared, we differentiate twice, or simply we differentiate this first derivative. So you bring down the power, it will be n minus 1, and then an, and then xn minus 2. And also, as you can see, it doesn't make sense to begin at n is equals to 1. So we begin at n is equals to 2. Because we know that at n is equals to 1, we will have 1 minus 1, which is 0, which does not make sense. So we start at n is equals to 2. We start at n is equals to 2. And then basically, having now obtained those values, you replace now them in this now equation. You replace back in that equation. So if you substitute that in the equation, we'll have 1 minus x squared times this second derivative. And then minus, we have 2x times divide x. Divide x is this first derivative. And then plus 2y. And you know how y looks like. Is equals to 0. Having done that, the next thing you do is that you now simplify. You open the brackets. You open this bracket. That is, you have 1 minus x squared times this summation. So you need to open it. So 1 times that summation is whatever you're seeing here. This first part is 1 times the summation minus x squared. X squared times this. We know that if you're multiplying x squared times x to power n minus 2, when multiplying powers, you normally add the powers. When multiplying functions with powers, you normally add the powers. So x to power 2 plus x times n minus 2, the powers will cancel each other. That is, you'll have 2 plus n minus 2. So it will be 2 minus 2, which is 0, and then we remain with minus power n. You will remain with power n, whatever you are seeing here. And then, for the next one, we are having 2x. We are having 2x times whatever we have in the summation there. So that x will multiply by the x power n minus 1, meaning that that power 1. We know that x is basically, by default, x is power 1. So we'll have 1 plus n minus 1, which is simply power n. That's how you are seeing that we have here equals to 0 up to infinity, 2n an x power n. And then at last we have the last one here is simply whatever is provided there. So now the next thing that you do is you simplify now. You now try and simplify whatever we have. As you can see, we have x power n. The last 3 terms are in the terms of x to power n. So we group those terms together. Because they have common terms. So the common terms there are an x power n. So you remain with what? We remain with the one that is positive is what? 2. We have 2. And then the next one here we have minus, because of this sign, minus n minus 1. And then this one minus 2n. So up to there, we are just seeing that we are simply trying to simplify. We are just trying to simplify whatever we have been given there. So now there is this statement. We can now change the indexing so that the series has the general term x to power n minus 2. So we're just trying to take this power from n to be n minus 2. That is the biggest power here, x n minus 2. So how do you do that? You simply put in this second summation, where there is n, you put n minus 2. Where there is n, you put n minus 2. Like what you can see here. We're just putting n is equals to n minus 2 in this part here. And then now you simplify. If you simplify, everything now will become under the same power. Everything now will be having in the same power. That's why we are grouping all the terms now, because they have the same power. And then on doing further simplifications, you'll be having terms containing an and the terms containing an minus 2, like that. So we need to equate the coefficients. That is, whatever we are having here to 0. We equate them to 0. So meaning that an, that is the first one now. If you take the first one, equals to 0. So that means you are making an the subject. if you make an the subject from this part, then an will be equal to n minus 3 over n minus 1 times an minus 2. What is the condition? The condition that is that n should be greater or equal to 2. Why? Because if n is equal to 1, an will not be analytic. That is, the denominator will be 0, and therefore an will not be analytic. That's why we are restricting an to be greater or equal to 0. So therefore, this table is simply trying to summarize whatever you have there. This table is just trying to help us whatever we got from this point. So we have seen where this one is coming from. That is, an is equal to n minus 3 over n minus 1 times an minus 2. So we use this term, the recurrence relation. So whatever we have obtained here, whatever we have here is what is referred to as the recurrent relation. That is the recurrent relation. So we say the above recurrence relation is used to calculate an for n being equal to greater or equal to 2 in terms of the values that are known. That is a0 and a1, which are left arbitrarily. So they're just left arbitrarily. So using that formula, that recurrence relation, then for the even subscript, and you have the odd subscript. So for the even subscript, that is when n is 2. So when n is 2, from this formula here, when n is 2, we'll have a2. We have a2, the one that you are seeing there. So a2 will be equal to what? A2 will be equal to, from the formula, a2 will be equal to, n is 2. So 2 minus 3, which is negative 1, over 2 minus 1, which is 1. And then we have a, that is 2 minus 2, a0. Whatever you're having here. So it will be negative 1 over 1, a0 or a0. When n is 3, what happens? When n is 3, you will have a3. You will have a3, and then what happens? It will be 3 minus 3 over 3 minus 1. And then we have a of negative 1, like that. Whatever we are seeing here. So it will be simply 0. Because you're saying when n is 0, you have a3 is equals to, on top here you have 3 minus 3, which is 0. And then the denominator, 3 minus 1 is 2. So 0 over 2 is 0. That's why you're seeing that a3 is 0. a3 is basically 0. What about a4? Going back to a4, when n is 4, you have a4. So it will be 4 minus 3, which is 1, over 4 minus 1, which is 3. So we have 1 over 3. So you have 1 over 3. Whatever you can see there. You have 1 over 3, a2, and so on. When n is 5, you have that. When n is 6, 7, and so on. So we are trying now to come up with a generalization. So this is basically the generalization. When it is even, that is a to k. So the general case will be 2k minus 1, a to k minus 2. And then when it is odd, a to k plus 1 is equals to 2k minus 2 over 2k, a to k minus 1. K is greater or equal to 1. So multiplying the corresponding components. So now we need to multiply the corresponding components in each column. We need to multiply the corresponding components in each column. So multiplying, we are starting with A2. We are multiplying downwards like that. We are multiplying downwards like that. So we have A2, A4, A6 up to A2K is equal to, on the right side, we have this. You multiply that. And then now, you start now cancelling. You start now cancelling the terms. Whatever is on the right, you cancel with whatever will be on the left. So you see that this will be whatever you remain with. For the second one here, you will do the same. You do the same, and then you cancel. You'll get that A to K plus 1 is equal to 0. And then meaning that now your power series solution will be in this form. You have the even plus the odd. That is y is equals to k is equals to 0 up to infinity, a to k, and then x power 2k plus summation k is equals to 0 up to infinity, a to k plus 1, x to power 2k plus 1, which is equals to negative a naught summation of k is equals to 0 up to infinity, x to power 2k over 2k minus 1. So the power series solutions are not difficult. They are not difficult things to solve. So at that point, I will wish that you can sit down, try and start from where we started. Look at the definitions of power series, analytic function. You look at now the different types of singular points, and then now you apply them in this getting the solution of this power series. So from there, we will continue looking at these other examples. So we'll have another class whereby we summarize by looking at the remaining examples. So make sure that you're understanding, first of all, the example that we started with. And then in our next lesson, we will look at these other examples. That is example B, C, and then these ones also. So make sure you go through that before our next class. Go through whatever we have been doing, and then you try and follow those other examples. So we'll continue there in our next class. So have a nice evening.